Welcome to the Finance Marketing Podcast, a show that empowers finance professionals to market their businesses in ways that feel good and actually achieve results. I'm your host, Hillary. I've been working with folks in financial services to develop marketing strategies that work and create results-oriented marketing content since 2020. And I've learned a lot about what works in finance marketing, what doesn't work, and where financial services pros get stuck. Join us each Friday as we explore real, effective ways to market your finance business and connect with folks who truly embody your ideal clients. My guest today is Mary Schmid, CEO of Mary Schmid Consulting and Speaking, author of Make or Break Conversations, and a speaker and educator specializing in the neuroscience of conversations. Now, this was my first time meeting Mary, and I was absolutely fascinated by her deep knowledge of how our brains respond in conversations and what that means for financial professionals building relationships with clients and having conversations with them about vulnerable topics all the time. So in this conversation, Mary breaks down the neuroscience behind what makes clients feel safe and open up versus what causes them to shut down and protect themselves. She shares practical strategies that financial advisors and coaches can use to create an environment of trust from the moment a client walks through the door or joins your virtual meeting. What I especially loved about this conversation was how Mary explains that building strong client relationships is not about memorizing scripts or following rigid formulas for your conversations. It's about understanding how to have authentic conversations that make clients feel truly heard and valued. So if you have ever wondered why some client conversations flow really effortlessly while others feel stuck or stale, or if you want to learn how to create deeper connections with your prospects and clients through your conversations, this episode is for you. Mary provides insights that you can start implementing immediately so that all of your client interactions focus on relationship building from the get-go rather than feeling like sales pitches. Her approach not only helps create better client experiences, but also naturally leads to stronger client relationships and more referrals, which is ultimately what great marketing is all about. So without further ado, let's dive in. Well, Mary, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm well, Hillary, and I'm really privileged and honored to be here with you and your audience.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to have you here. If you'll just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yes, I would be delighted. So I thought I was pretty good at conversations. I was a healthcare executive leader for many, many years before I got into the business that I am in now. And I thought I was really good at conversations. I told people what to do. I listened to their concerns. I gave them good advice. I was a pretty smart, I thought, leader. But then I couldn't figure out, like, why are some people so easy to get along with? And Hillary, quite honestly, honestly, you just rather avoid. So I didn't know that. And I asked my CEO and he said, well, just keep talking. People will come around. So I just kept doing what he was doing and I didn't really get any different results. And one day we were at a luncheon and one of the ladies at the luncheon said to me, so what is it that you do? My daughter piped up and said, oh, she's the world's most expensive babysitter. She babysits doctors. And I thought, oh, ouch. And there's an element of truth in there. Because as I was leading conversations, if people didn't go along with what I wanted, that was their problem. There's something wrong with them. It was never me. So I started looking, saying, this advice that we're getting, do this and do this and do this. Okay, that's all good, but that's not enough. What is it? And that's where I discovered the neuroscience of conversations. And I studied for 3 years with a team of neuroscientists to understand the science. But then the more important piece is, how do we use this in our everyday lives? Because it's incredibly powerful and it totally changes the way that we talk with people. So from there, I opened my doors and I began coaching CEOs, which was fine and dandy. And one day, a financial planner came and said, well, I'd like to work with me. Now, Hillary, I'm telling you, I had a couple of experiences that were less than stellar and I was a little skeptical. But, this time I said, okay, we'll try. And doors opened up. I was just totally amazed about how kind and compassionate, how caring. And he was really interested in learning how to be better at conversations so he could be better for his clients. That one day came and he said to me, I think I'm getting really good at this. And I'm thinking, well, I think you are too. So I said, show me. So we did this real play conversation where I gave him a real issue as a client and he responded as a financial advisor. I'm telling you, Hillary, what happened is like I got so immersed, so lost in the conversation, I forgot that it was
Wow.
practice.
Right.
And I thought to myself, get your grip here. You're the teacher, he's a student. And so I got a grip here. And I thought, wow, is he really that good?
Mm-hmm.
Of course he was, Hillary. I taught him.
Right. Right. You can't sell yourself short.
But the truth of the matter is, as we wrapped up the conversation, I looked at him and I said, if you are going to treat all of your clients the way that you've just worked with me through this, I want to be your client. So that this huge skeptic that I was dropped her guard enough to simply say, and I want to work with you.
Wow.
And that began the work that I did. And then I worked with different firms and together we wrote the book. And that's exactly all that I do now is teaching financial professionals, firm owners and their leaders and their teams. How do we have conversations with one another that we engage and we connect? Because that's the only thing we can do to have people want to work with us is to really build the bridges of trust.
Right.
And so that's my story.
Well, that is just so fascinating, Mary. And I would love if we can go back because I find it really interesting that you started by partnering with some neuroscientists and really understanding the neuroscience of conversation. I'm wondering if you can give us like a little 101, type explanation of what you discovered.
Yeah. So let me do I call them the cliff notes.
Yes.
So every conversation has a predictable result. And that is, we either open up and connect or we shut down and protect. And the things that we say and how we lead conversations cause that predictable reaction. When we're feeling safe and people are listening to us and we're interested, our brain senses that, signals our prefrontal cortex. We're flooded with oxytocin, the social bonding chemical, and we open up to connect. We're feeling trusting, we're curious, we're not judgmental. We feel safe in this space to talk and have a dialogue. So imagine that we're in a conversation and I say something that that you perceive is a little threatening or a little like I'm telling you what to do or I'm preaching to the choir and I'm just taking over the conversation. Your brain senses that it will have a very different reaction. It triggers the amygdala. The amygdala showers the brain with cortisol and you shut down. And what's the most interesting thing is you can't have both of these going on at once. It's either one or the other. Either you're open and you're connecting and you're problem solving and thinking about ways to work together, or you're completely shut down, guarded, skeptic, and defensive. And so our job is taking this information to say, how do you create these conversations?
Well, that amygdala and that process, it could happen really fast. And is there any recovery after that? Or once that happens, is the conversation headed in a bad way?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing because the amygdala instantly responds. There's some things that we can do to recognize that and re-invite people into the conversation. So if I say something that just totally sets you off, I've got to use my eyes and my ears and my heart and my senses to say, oh, it looks to me like that was a little off-putting. So what can I do? I go back and I simply say, I don't think that landed very well. Let me try again, Hillary. Open, honest, transparent. I'm not perfect and I don't know that everything that I say is perfect, but I'm doing my best. But when I say to you, wow, I don't think I got my point across, did I? What are you going to say? You're going to say to me, sure didn't.
Yeah, right. Well, this is fascinating. And I think that it is just so important for financial advisors to have these skills because from the get-go, I mean, this is a very vulnerable relationship. You're entrusting someone with your financial hopes and dreams and fears, and not to mention maybe your life savings if your financial advisor is going to be managing your money for you. So I think it's just, it makes so much sense that financial advisors need this type of coaching and these kinds of skills.
Hopes and dreams, but on the other side of that, the mistakes and the regrets and the things that we really want to keep in the closet and not share, but yet they influence our decision making about what we do with our money. And so it's that whole piece of it. And how do we lead conversations that bring out, that set up the conditions so that can be brought out, so that clients who are sitting across from us, Hillary, can feel free to express without fear of me making fun of them or putting them down or belittling them or lecturing them.
Right. Right. Because you're right. There's a lot of shame around money as well,
Yeah.
which is a big one.
And how do I lead conversations that recognize that? And then I can encourage you to say the kinds of things that you want.
So can you give us some examples of how advisors or anyone can start those positive conversations?
I can't. I can't. The first thing is that I work on principles.
Mm.
And so with every principle that I teach, there's a whole lot of actions that you can take to implement. And those actions are based on your personality, your voice, your style. So I don't prescribe this is what you need to say, but I'm going to give you a general principle. And the
Mm.
first principle is that we need to set up the conversation for safety.
Mm.
Because without safety, there's no trust. If I'm not feeling safe, I'm back in my amygdala. I'm all listening about and worried about sharing too much. I can't even think. I can't even reason. I mean, have you ever been in a conversation when someone said something so surprising you couldn't even respond? You went like,
Right. Yes.
that's the amygdala action. When that's acting like that, we can't think, we can't problem solve, we can't even respond.
Right.
So our job is to create safety. So how do you create safety? Well, there's a couple of things that I'd like to share. The first thing is you've got to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself to get into the conversation. You know, we prepare ourselves with the software is downloaded. We got that all to go. We've got all the charts and the graphs and all that ready to go. That's not what I'm talking about. That has its place, but talking about preparing yourself as a person.
Mm.
So I recommend that you just simply, I call it the 1 minute drill.
Mm-hmm.
Take 1 minute and breathe. Breathing is cheap, free, and easy. It resets your nervous system. It's the most powerful tool that we have. And then be really clear about why are you having this conversation? What's the purpose of this? Okay, we got that. Then this is the magic. Switch your thinking to what about them? So here's this person that's coming in to meet with me. It could be a brand new client. It could be someone that I've met for many times and who's a well-established client. It doesn't make a difference. You always establish safety. So what may be going on in their world? What's it like to be for them? What might they want to know when they come here? But this is the most important thing, Hillary. How do I want them to feel as the result of our interaction?
Mm-hmm.
It resets your brain to focus on them, not worrying about what you're going to say next.
Mm.
So when you are ready to go meet them, you've now prepared yourself. The client is there, whether it's on video or whether it's in person, it doesn't matter. We have to remember that people will judge you within a second
Mm-hmm.
and will say either she's friendly or she's not, either friend or foe.
Mm.
And that happens before first words are even spoken. So what I recommend that we do is we've prepared ourselves is throw our shoulders back,
Mm-hmm.
relaxed position. You've got this. Warm eye contact, smile. If it's appropriate and it's your style, a handshake.
Mm-hmm.
Before you even speak words, you have now signaled to the brain 4 or 5 times, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. And then it's time to speak. So ditch the weather and the sports. I've got a channel for that, right? I've got an app for that. And then start with an emotional connection. And it's so simple as, I'm happy to see you. I'm
Mm.
glad that we can spend time together. So the coupling with the calm presence and the sincere interest opens people up. It just signals to the brain, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
Not once, but many times. And then you get into starting the conversation, and most people will do that thing about like, okay, so yeah, the sports were great, whatever. Let's get down to business now. Slow down. Slow down. I suggest that we simply say, so what's been going on for you?
Mm.
Focus back on them. Let them tell you. They may say, oh, nothing. That's okay. That's okay. Focus back then. And so what is it that you want to accomplish in our conversation today? What's most important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to them, jot it down, and then it's your turn. And simply say, as I was preparing for you today, Hillary, I thought about a couple things. And in fact, I wrote a couple things down. Let me share those with you, okay? All right. Then we look at what you have and what I have. And now let's start with Hillary. What do you say about what's most important to you right now?
Mm.
And off we go. I have some ideas and we can get there too, but let's start with what you said first.
Mhm.
You've created the agenda. They know the purpose of the conversation. They know where they're going. The brain loves to know. It loves to know what's expected. You've just created a roadmap.
Mhm.
And when I have the roadmap, you know what I do? I can relax and
Right.
say, okay, let's go. You're in charge. I know you'll guide me. I know that I already have some trust in you, right? Because you've given me the signals that you're
Mm.
interested, that you care about what I care about, that you're going to let me speak about what I want to speak about. This whole piece of control, this control that many advisors have is like, this is me and I'm my agenda and I'm the expert. So here's where we're going. That sets up this dynamic of power over.
Mhm.
Not good. Not good.
Right.
Because
Right.
whatever you tell people, they're not gonna listen. They're gonna simply say, well, you must be right, and I'm not gonna push back. But what you do when you create this working together, this collaboration, is you level the playing field where
Mhm.
I am your partner. Do I have my expertise? Oh my gosh, without a doubt. Financial people are some of the smartest people in this world.
Right.
Yes, I'm not judging that, but you're giving me, the client, the space to come to you. You're pulling me in with your conversations rather than just tell, 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 tell.
Right.
Because I'm going to ask you a question. If someone just tells, this is what you need to do, Hillary, what do you think? No, you said, you're like me, Hillary. No, no, no. I don't like to be told what to do.
Right. Right.
Right, right. But
Because what I'm thinking as a potential client is, but you don't know this, this, and this about my life, or you don't know how I feel about this, this, and this. So, there's no opportunity, for me to share that.
no. And so you end up with a very transactional relationship.
Mm.
Here's what I think is the problem. Here's what you need to do. Well, how do you
Mm.
think that works? And then we
Mhm.
wonder why people don't follow through with our recommendations, why they don't come back and visit us. Well, that's why. People
Right.
don't like to be told what to do. So this
Mm.
whole thing of setting up safety and inviting them in is
Mhm.
absolutely critical.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, this is so fascinating, and I just want to kind of circle back to something that you pointed out. This isn't just important in the first conversation that you have with somebody, right? This isn't just important during the sales conversation. It's important to have conversations like this every time you meet with a potential client. It almost sounds like every time someone walks into your door, whether virtual or in person, it almost resets a little bit, and you have to create that trust and that feeling of safety all
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah. And in fact, if you do it consistently, I'll tell you what happens. With my clients, I do it consistently. The clients come to expect it.
Mhm.
Because when I say, I'm happy to see you, come on in, let's have this conversation. I'm looking forward. You feel happy, you feel good.
Right.
But what's even more important is what I sort of call the trickle down effect. So you do this on the phone. You're setting the appointment or you're calling someone to remind them, or even in an email, instead of simply saying, looking for, see you at da 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 da. Say, hi, Mary. I hope I know you as a client. Hope your vacation was great. Hope the wedding went fine. Bob, your advisor is looking forward to meeting you. We saved a special time. If there's a problem, call us. We'll make it work out. Looking
Right.
forward to seeing you. How warm is that? It's like adding 3 sentences and you've already just touched their heart. You've opened them up to say like you care.
Mhm.
And it's with every conversation, every conversation. It doesn't always go as predictable as we would like it to be. So I was working with my client, Bob, who was using this kind of format and it was working well until it didn't.
Mm.
So one day he had a couple come in that he's been working with for 4 years, and he greeted them and simply said, so what's been going on in your world? And they looked at them, plopped their papers on the desk, looked at them and said, we don't have time for this silly small talk.
Mm.
Here's what we want to talk about right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bob said, okay, met them where they're at. This is what you want to talk with. No silly small talk. Got it. So
Mm-hmm.
they went through the things that they wanted to talk about. They had it all listed out. Okay, great. We've got this. We've got it. And so at the end of the conversation, he circled back and simply
Mm-hmm.
said, so what else is going on in your world? Your business is going fine. What else is going on? Client said to him, why are you asking us this? And he just smiled. He goes, we've been working together for 4 years and I know a lot about the business and the finance pieces, but I don't really know very much about you. And what I know more about what's going on in your world, it may impact the kinds of plans that we're making.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, well, that's fair enough. And they shared a little bit and then the conversation ended. Over the next year, the accounts that they had with other advisors started trickling in one by one by one.
Mm-hmm.
And so at their annual meeting, Bob simply said, I've noticed that we've now consolidated all of your work with my firm.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yep, that's right. And he said to them, but I'm curious, if I'm not overstepping my boundaries, what made the difference? After all these years, you've now switched over simply to work with our firm. And they simply said, you were the only one that asked about us.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it may not go in the order and the sequence of what I've presented, but keep doing it, circling back and always inviting people to share more. It's like planting seeds, like marketing plants seeds, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
plant the seed, and you never know when it's going to sprout because that's just sometimes how it works.
Right. That's so interesting because I did want to ask you, personalities are very different from person to person to person,
Right.
as we know. And I even find myself in conversations, whether it's with a realtor. I mean, I've shared with you, we're in the process of selling
Yeah.
and buying a new home and things like that. And our realtor is very good at letting us talk about what we want and what we're feeling and things like that. And I always find myself not wanting to waste their time, whether it's a realtor or a financial advisor or whoever it might be. And so, and also, asking them personal questions back and things like that, when really, their job is to make the client feel comfortable and things like that. How do you coach your clients to kind of, guide the conversations in the ways that they want while also taking into account the different personalities of their clients?
That's two questions in one. I'll answer the first one, and that is you can tell as you look at people, look at them, look at their eyes, their face, their body language, their nonverbal speaks languages. And
Mm-hmm.
when you open up the conversation, some people will be very willing to chat, and some people will, like Bob's clients, say, no dice. It's okay. You just follow it. You
Mm-hmm.
follow whatever you sense that they want or need. I mean, there's many different personalities and many different types. But my question is, are they open to talking about what's going on or are they not? And if they're not, fine, we proceed with what they want to talk about. And if they are open, then you get a whole world of information that you don't have to ask by asking your favorite 20 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out in a conversation, it comes out in their story, it comes out in how you guide that by asking questions and the key with the questions, Hillary, is that it's questions for which you do not have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So many times we sort of, in the back of our mind, we kind of know what's going on, and our questions reflect that, reflect our assumptions. So what we do instead is what, how, interesting
Mm-hmm.
questions. So what was the impact of that? How did that affect you? What did you do next? It's almost like helping them to continue to articulate the situation that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to do that, we need to listen. And so this listening and questioning are like peanut butter and jelly. They go
Mm-hmm.
together. Well, you can't have one without the other. Well, yeah, I suppose you could, but it's not as delicious. It's not as effective. And so I work with people to teach them how to listen because, we think we're listeners. We're good listeners. Hillary, we're great at this. But the truth of the matter is we're listening dropouts, every single one of us, because our brain gets in the way again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking at 100 words a minute. your brain is going at 400 words a minute, thinking like, what is she going to say next? What is she going to say next? And solving the problem at 900 words a minute. Before I'm even done speaking, you already know the next question. You know what to ask. You know, that's how powerful your brain is.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to tame it down and tone it down and say, slow down. Slow
Mm.
down. Just focus on what they're saying. Focus on what they're saying. The problem solving and the advice giving and the planning and all the things that comes next,
Mm.
unless you really understand my situation, what I think, what I feel, and how this is helping me. You don't have a leg to stand on in terms of telling me you can help me, because you haven't listened to me, nor have you asked any questions to help me explain further.
Mm. I can see how complex this is for someone to put into practice. I mean, even as a podcast host and, having conversations and asking questions all the time, I always find myself thinking, okay, what's the next question I'm going to ask? Where are we going to take this conversation? And it is really difficult to stop your brain from going straight into that mode. So, what happens when you can get your brain to stop doing that and you just focus on listening? Because I think my fear is always, if I'm focusing too much on listening, what if I don't have a question to follow up with to keep the conversation going? Which, of course, as I'm saying that out loud, sounds so silly.
So you pause, yeah. So what if I don't know what to say next? That's everyone's worst fear. So they fill the space with chatter.
Right.
So instead, what happens if you would have a pause as you're thinking about and collecting the questions? You see, I believe, and my experience is showing me, that if you really are listening, you will know, based on what I said, the next question. And that's the most important question. They say the most important question is a follow-up question. And I don't disagree, Hillary, but I'm going to add a caveat to that. It's a follow-up question that was follow-up question based on what I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
There's the magic. So you
Right.
said, so you were saying you didn't quite always think that you're present and you're always thinking about the next question. Okay, that's fine. So we pause and they'll come to you. The next question will come.
Mm. Is that a fear that most of your clients have as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do I say? What do I say? The question is, what do I say when? That's the fear. What do I
Mm-hmm.
say when? What do I say when they get emotional and they cry? What do I say when they've had a tragedy? What do I say when I don't know what to say because I'm thinking about what I'm supposed to be saying?
Mm.
And so in that case, there's two things that I teach, that I help people with, and simply say, first of all, you've got to, in your mind and on paper, you've got to structure your conversational process.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to open? What comes first? What comes second? How are you going to do this? And so when you have that in that roadmap in the back of your own mind, you can relax a little bit.
Mm.
And if something is said that you don't know how to respond to, pause
Mm-hmm.
and be honest and say, I'm not really sure what to say.
Mm.
Let it land. The client gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like saying, I'm not really sure what to say. It sounds to me like that is a better response than saying the wrong thing too quickly just
Yeah.
to fill a silence.
Just to fill a sentence, you jump in with something that may be irrelevant, that may be off base, and it's really going to make the client wonder if you were even listening in the first place. But if you
Mm.
were really listening in the first place and you really didn't know what to say, you might just pause and simply say, got to ponder that a minute. I'm not quite sure what to say.
Mm.
Let me think about that. And when you give that space, more than likely the client will jump back in.
Mm.
The other piece that people really fear is, what do I do when people get emotional? What do I do? Well, they think they have to fix it. There's nothing to fix, Hillary, nothing to fix. They don't
Mm.
have to fix anything. They need to listen, be supportive, empathetic. I hear what you're saying. It sounds like a really tough decision, tough spot that you were in.
Mm.
And then this is the magic. We take the empathy and convert it to compassion with a simple question of, what support do you need?
Mm.
What support are you getting?
Mm.
What support do you want from me? And when you do that with all sincerity and kindness, your clients, your people, your employees, your partners, and like, they'll tell you, oh, nothing. I just want to get off my chest, or there's nothing you can do. I've got my family to help me, and I just wanted you to know. See, so it's what we fear most, what stops us in our conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And if we didn't fear what we feared, we could really open it up and trust that we know that we will say the right thing, whatever that is. But I say you can really never say the wrong thing if you say it with good intentions and a good heart.
Mm.
Because even if the words may not come out exactly right, Hillary, it's the feeling that I have. And people respond to that. Again, it's
Mm-hmm.
that brain thing. When I feel like you're really listening to me, I know you are. When I
Mm-hmm.
see your eyes of kindness, that triggers me. Versus someone who's stiff and formal and doesn't work
Right.
so well. Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Especially over video. I think it almost becomes more important in a way to really pay attention to, do you have those eyes of kindness and that smile on your face? And are you making someone feel comfortable even though you're not in the same proximity?
exactly. And really being attentive to what you see across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if it's across the screen, we can still pick up energy of our
Right.
emotions. Our brains pick it up.
Right.
And they always say, and I don't know if it's true or not, Hillary, but on video, they say you need to be even more emotive,
Mm.
even more pronounced.
Well, Mary, do you have any maybe stories or examples, maybe even just one of, someone who came to you and was really struggling, and maybe what happened after working with you and getting some of these skills in place?
I've got two, but I'll share one. One is a
Okay.
client. One is a client story, and he was working a lot with women in retirement ages. Right, they're pre-retiring, doing whatever they want to do, and so very kind man, lovely young man, lovely young man. But he always sort of like got into the business of it. Like, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I said, so what I told him is slow down and let them tell you what they're thinking first. So he was meeting with a woman about retirement, and mind you, he's married and he's got three little kids. Two girls that are twins that are 6, and a girl that's 9. So you can imagine this lifestyle. His wife is working, he's working. They've got this like hectic lifestyle. So he's talking to this client about retirement. And in his mind, he's visioning what we think about it, right? We think about the beach and the sunset and putting our feet up and the sandals and drink our cocktail. So he's having these visions. He said, and I said, so I said, I snapped myself out of it. That's my problem. I said, yeah. So what did you do? And what did you say? He said, I said one simple thing. What does retirement look like for you?
Mm.
And all of a sudden, without a lot of questions and a lot of prompting, he got this beautiful picture of, well, I'm going to have time to do what I want to do. And I can have my grandkids over whenever I want to. I don't have a schedule, and I can buy my new lawnmower. And when I buy my new lawnmower, I can mow my lawn any time of the day that I want. He got a whole picture of, so what's messing her value and her importance was she's the freedom to choose, where now
Mm.
she's feeling really locked in. And it's not about vacations and cruises and what other people might imagine. It's about family time,
Right.
having those grandkids over, enjoying her gardening, enjoying her time. When he learned about that and just really listened to her story, he got a whole new perspective. Now, how do you think that influenced their planning?
Mm. I,
Totally.
I can't imagine, because that lifestyle that she was envisioning, I'm sure, was a lot less expensive than the lifestyle he was envisioning for her.
Exactly. And money was not the object, but it's like, how do you, so when you allow people to dream and to tell you their dreams and their hopes and their aspirations, and then get really specific about what that looks like, you, the financial professional, you know what you're dealing with now, and
Mm.
how easy it will be to guide and help her to make the decisions.
Right.
So that's one story. The second story we'll tell you is I was working with a group of advisors, and I attended I attended their firm celebration of their clients, an appreciation event, and it was beautiful and whatever. And I was talking with Matt, and Matt's wife Gabby comes up and she looks at me. She goes, "You are the reason So I took a deep breath, I smiled politely and I thought, oh my God, what is she going to say? What did I do? And she goes, you are the reason that our conversations at our supper table with our 3 teens has totally turned around. And I said,
Wow.
how is that? She goes, well, because what you taught him, he taught me, and we teach our children. Instead of saying, how was your day at school? What's new? What did the teacher say? Do you have homework? How was basketball practice? Blah, blah, blah. Question that we never really listened to the answer to. Anyway, we start with something like, one best thing today is. We take turns, and all of a sudden, my one best thing, your best thing, was something positive that happened, was something that wasn't so positive. Their conversations just explode.
Wow.
That to me is the best compliment of not only did this advisor use this in his work, but he used it in his life.
Wow. That is powerful.
Yeah. It's my favorite story.
Well, Mary, this has been so lovely. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
I've created a special download for your listeners in your podcast here. And they just need to go to maryschmid.com/FMP.
Perfect. And I'll link to that in the show notes too. That's amazing.
That'd be great because, it's a special report about exactly what we've talked about to
Amazing.
give a resource and a guide so that they can, if they're interested in learning more and interested in doing this, they can do this.
I love this. Well, thank you so much, Mary. It has been such a delight getting to chat with you for the past half hour or so. And I know my listeners appreciate it as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. It's been my pleasure. And I'm hoping that people walk away with one little tidbit that will make a difference in their conversations.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to Mary, and thank you to all of my listeners at the Finance Marketing Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Finance Marketing Podcast. If you're eager to market your business in a way that feels good and actually gets results, sign up for the Finance Marketing Podcast newsletter in the show notes so you never miss another episode. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening app and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you back here next Friday.